everyone, welcome to today's podcast. Here with me, Ahsani as a moderator in this podcast. So, in this session, we will talk about barriers to verbal and language communication. That is so relate with our daily life. And here I am not alone. I am accompanied by three of our guests who are specially invited to explain about barriers to verbal and language communication. They are Mita Sugiarti, Horsokeng, and Nancy. So here will they explain about verbal and language communication. So what is the definition of verbal and language communication? This will be explained by Sokeng. Hello Sokeng.
Hello, Rias. Thank you for having me today. The definition of verbal and language communication is the use of words to share information with another people. It can therefore include both spoken and written communication. However, many people use the term of describe only spoken communication. The verbal element of communication is all about the word that you choose and how they are heard and interpreted. The effectiveness of verbal communication depends on the tone of the speaker, clarity of speech, volume, speed, body language, and the qualities of words used in the communication. In the case of verbal communication, the feedback is immediate since there are simultaneous transmission and receipt of the message by the sender and receiver respectively. The sender must keep his speech tone and high clearly audible to all and must design the subject matter keeping the target audience in mind. The sender should always cross-check with the receiver to ensure that the message is understood in absolutely the same way as it was intended. Such communication is more prone to error or sometimes the words are not sufficient to express the feeling and emotion of personal. The success of verbal communication depends not only on the speaking ability of an individual but also on the listening skill. How effectively an individual listen to the subject matter designed to effectiveness of the communication. The verbal communication is applicable in both the formal and informal kind situation. And that's all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much Nancy. And thank you so much Sokeng for explaining the definition of verbal and language communication. So verbal communication is the use of words to share information with other people. It includes both spoken and written communication. Now, then we will discuss of the types of verbal communication. This will be explained by Mita.
Hello, Rios. Thank you for introducing myself before. Okay, I will explain about types of verbal and language communication. But before that, when we use different ways of speaking, we communicate ideas or express emotion more effectively. In verbal communication, we express ideas or opinions aloud to another person. So this information you may convey during a conversation also includes the tone of our speech. So I will explain about the 4 types of verbal communication. And the first one is interpersonal. This is one-to-one communication that takes place when individuals exchange information such as idea or opinion. In words, guys. So here 2 or more people take turns sending and receiving information. When using interpersonal communication, it's really important to be mindful of your tone of voice and then gesture and expression of our body as they may convey a motive behind our words. And then the second one is interpersonal communication. Interpersonal communication is the communication that occurs internally. It may include self-talk and then acts of imagination, visualization or recall where an individual processes their thoughts. And then interpersonal communication can play a crucial, important role in various social and personal functions. So this type of communication can remind a personal introspection, or it can lead your communication verbally. And then the third one is small group communication. It may happen when more than two people are present. So it cannot happen if only one person. Here, the number of participants may be small enough to allow each person to interact or converse with others. Small group communication usually focus on completing specific tasks or jobs, or completing certain goals like board meeting and then weekly team meeting and press conference. Maybe in the workplace, small group communication may help individuals perform informal roles like collaborate and then develop a sense of belonging. And then the last one is public communication. Public speech during election campaigns are a good example of public communication. In most cases, the information goes in only one direction. With public communication, the speaker may try to disclose and explain everything, opinion or idea to an audience. And then a good example is a lecturer is maybe lecturer giving a speech at industry conference. I think it's all in Rio.
Okay, thank you so much, Mita. So guys, we have four types of verbal communication. There are interpersonal, intrapersonal, small group communication, and public communication. Next, why verbal and language communication is important. Now this will be explained by Nancy. Hello, Nancy.
Hello everyone. I am Nasi. I will present. In this explain, you might choose verbal communication. Number one, had you express your line. Number two, correct a complex idea. Number three, had you sing. Number four. Number four, enforce your mood. Number five, proving clarity. Number six, in case more decision. Number seven, save time. Okay. Before a team member start his work, everyone can understand what you are saying, at the right saying you all time. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Nancy. So verbal and language communication is so important to help our supervisors to increase our soft skills that are useful in the workplace. Well, friends, there is the importance of verbal and language communication, but to implement it, we are faced with barriers that need to be known. Now, then we will talk about essential skills in verbal and language communication, and barriers to verbal and language communication will be explained by Mita. Hello, Mita.
Hello, Rion. Okay, thank you for the question. I think it's really interesting question. But before we talk about barriers, I think that we need to know about the essential skills in verbal and language communication, because it is a really important. We know that verbal and language communication is an important skill now. However, when we communication, we tend to spend for more energy considering what we are going to say and then listening to another person. And then verbal communication includes, the first one is conversation. You know, conversation is the art of informal communication. It could be small talk and social conversation, business conversation, or any other low-key casual communication. Knowing how to hold your own in a conversation, so listening more than speaker, is an essential verbal communication. And then the second one is listening and reflecting. Listening and reflecting is an essential verbal communication skill too that focus you on the speaker, not on yourself. This is such an essential skill that we will cover in depth below. And then presenting. Presenting is the essential verbal communication skill of speaking to others more formally. Everybody has suffered that by PowerPoint, and that indicating the most people are poor presenters. As an entrepreneur, your presentation skill must be at a high level because we have to talking with inventors and then shareholders, partners, a customer, and employee. In case you have to tell your story through your presentation skill. So you need to be have a good skill to make a materials in PowerPoint. And then selling and persuading. Selling and persuading is another essential verbal communication skill. Selling, of course, is a form of persuasion that asks another person to take action or to buy our product or service that we deliver. It could be something as simple as an email or something more complex like purchasing our product or service. Persuading is broader than selling and involves verbal communication designed to have another person accept a point of view, belief, or opinion or argument. And then the next question, you asked about barriers to verbal and language communication, right, Rio? I think it's a really complex explanation but now I will try to explain to be 3 points. The first is cultural barrier. In increasingly multicultural world, some of the more common barriers to effective verbal communication fall within a category or cultural barrier. Cultural barriers make it difficult for people to communicate with another, primarily because it is still a culture that includes how we think, how people think. Cultural barriers can include language difference, like us now, from Cambodia and from Indonesia, we have a different language, which make it difficult to translate what is being said from one language to another. And then the barriers include the behavior constraint faced when speaking to someone of another culture. For instance, in some cultures, eye contact between men and women in front of. And then the second one is stereotypes and generalization. Speaking in this way tends to describe the credibility of the speaker and can evoke clarity as well. The speaker assumes that the listener will know what he is speaking about while the listener delivers, but in fact has no idea or even interprets that message differently. Viewing the words in a stereotypical manner can create barriers to communication because the person receiving the message can be different by what is said. And the next one is lack of clarity. Lacking clarity is the third barrier to effective verbal communication. Speakers who don't speak precisely and clearly about their topic, whatever it may be, run the risk of confusing the receiver of the message they deliver. Your use of language may differ from someone you are speaking to, especially when it comes to slang. And then the best way to be sure of your clarity is you have to make sure you have to watch for feedback from the receiver of the message to ensure that they have received your message properly. That's all, Rios, for the explanation.
Thank you so much, Mita. So we have for essential skills there are conversation, listening and reflecting, presenting and selling and persuading. And we have the 3 barriers to verbal and language communication. There are cultural barrier, stereotype and generalization, and lack of clarity. Thank you so much for our speaker who explained our topic, barriers to verbal and language communication. So today we can get and listen. We can know that what is the verbal and language communication. We can know the importance of verbal and language communication, and we can know barriers and tips to improve the verbal and language communication. So I think that's all. Thank you for today. I hope it will be useful and good luck. See you next time.